Today, I'm looking at an evaluation and a conclusion of your research assignment, right? So the evaluation, to have a critical evaluation, you need three things. An insightful discussion of the quality of evidence. So write it down, insightful discussion of quality of evidence. The second thing is extrapolating about the credible findings. The third thing is suggested improvements or extensions. All right, so let's start with insightful discussion. So I've broken it down into two parts. You can discuss what about the evidence that you found impacts your answering the question that you came up with. So what about it impacts how you answer the question? And in that evidence, how is it limited in answering the question? So what about it and how is it limited? Okay? Here's some limitations that you may have found, and I'll show you. You've hopefully had a look at this, potentially the exemplar. So the green bit is the evaluation, the green highlighted. Just a reminder, this is about nuclear power. So it's got, in quotations, a part of the article. So nuclear power waste has not caused any health problems, essentially is what the article said. And then in the green under that, it is suggested that a second source confirming this would be required to remove claims of bias. Okay, so they have discussed about what impacts answering the question. So it's limited because there's only one article saying. So that's the quality of evidence. That's the first part of the evaluation. The second part is extrapolating credible findings. So applying the outcome of your research to the original claim. So whatever you found through your research, applying it back to whatever the claim was. So yes, they've said their research question again. So it talks about clean energy, and it says the evidence suggests that nuclear fusion uses fuel and produces waste that bears no threat to humans. However, there is no evidence regarding the cost or processes, fuel, etc., waste produced. It cannot be fully established that the technique is considered clean. So they have said if it supports or refutes the claim. So the claim was, in their example, was talking about clean energy, but their evidence didn't really establish if it was clean or not. So can you guys see that link? How it's refuting or supporting the claim, the original claim. It's refuting it because there's no evidence of clean energy. It just talks about the production of energy through nuclear power or nuclear fusion. The second highlighted green part. Again, the biased. So the information that the Tomac Energy nuclear power is from that company. So we don't know if they are being biased or dishonest. So to make it not biased or dishonest, we need to make sure that it comes from an authority outside of that company. So that's the second part. The third part, suggested improvements, extensions. So you want to discuss how they are directly applicable, directly to the claim. So not some abstract improvements or extensions, yeah? Don't just come up with extensions or improvements for your research. It has to be directly applicable to the claim, related to the claim. You also want to link it back to the limitations in your improvements and extensions. And you want to have extensions that complement the research and potentially may give you new evidence. So let's have a look if they did that. So they said, first improvement would research how hydrogen fuel is produced. So in their articles, they talked about hydrogen and its relation to nuclear power. So it's directly related to nuclear power, which is related to their claim. It would be important to establish the cost of this process, risk to the environment, human safety, So they're again talking about the clean energy side of it. So it's applicable, directly related. They haven't really talked about the limitation. So they've talked about the requirement of further data to do this. And now we've got the extensions parts. So they're talking about the amount of hydrogen required to provide power for a city or country, whether this amount of fuel is readily available or not. So their extensions complement the research. It really depends on whether hydrogen's available or not. Is it accessible? Is it there to be used? In your conclusion, I guess a little bit more simple. You're just justifying what you've done. So what conclusion did you come up with? Justify it with some reasoning and information to answer the question directly. So you're answering kind of yes or no to your question. It is possible to get the marks without using data, but a really great way to answer a yes or no with justification is data. That's a great example of justifying. So in this exemplar, they did the conclusion last, but a lot of exemplars do the conclusion before the evaluation because they're concluding the analysis and then you're evaluating everything that you did. So that's quite common. Just in this exemplar, they did the conclusion last.